Well, that little straw poll there fills me with optimism, actually, because I think it just goes to show that SuDS isn't just for drainage engineers and for experts, it's for everybody, including people like myself who hadn't really heard of SuDS until a few years ago. When I took over with colleagues the management and delivery of this project, SuDS for Schools, which was funded by Thames Water and the Environment Agency, who showed a lot of confidence in us and saw that we could maybe bring something slightly different to the party. And our role really was to try and get the message out there about how we need to manage urban water differently and to use SuDS as a way of engaging with local communities and, in this particular case, schools. So I'll talk a little bit about schools projects that we've done, but we've also done projects in the wider community as well. But we'll major on this. This was a catchment in North London, the Pims Brook, which feeds into the Lee and thence into the Thames. Our challenge was to take 10 schools, all different, but in the same hydrological catchment, and retrofit SuDS in some very, very difficult urban spaces, apart from one which was extremely rural. This is an old slide. We think we've now managed to engage with well over 2,000 people. So that's students, parents, governors, planners, drainage engineers even, to tell our story about how fantastic this programme has been really for the people involved in it. And the one thing I would say at the outset is that the success, such as it has been for this project, is really about fundamentally based in getting the right people together from the outset. So it's not expert-led, although experts are involved. We feel it's a community-led initiative, and these are community-based solutions based on local need and local situation and constraints. So there you have it, 10 schools, each with a different SuDS. Think also about the multiple benefits that we get when we manage urban water in a sustainable way, and think about the greater cohesion we get, the greater awareness we get about issues facing urban society going forward, so climate change, for example, and how we get people talking to other people who haven't necessarily met each other but live in the same street, work in the same school, and so on. And this process has truly been a creative one, and it's been fun and imaginative as well. So it's not all been about plans and modelling and so on. In fact, it's hardly been about that at all, really. So here's the Pims Brook. Pretty grim little place, actually, but not atypical. It's got some highlights, well, moderately highlights. If you look on the left, you might spot some wildfowl lazing around on the concrete on a warm sunny day in Edmonton, I think that is. So this is our first school, Hollywood Primary School. There's about 300 kids there. And what we did there was took the children and parents and teachers and governors and so on through a process, a three-stage process. So design, creation and management. And at all of our schools, all of those stakeholders has been involved in each of those stages. And we're quite proud to say, actually, that in all of our schools, most, if not all, of the kids have actually been involved in creating and managing these things that we've put in place with them. And I think that leads to a real great sort of community of knowledge. And we've got little ambassadors for SuDS strewn throughout North London now, who are going to cause havoc for local planners, hopefully, in years to come. So this was a pretty grotty, northern-facing, damp, dark corner where parents met their kids at the end of the school day. And if you look in the corner, you can see the downpipes going into the drain. And we've got a little raised SuDS garden here. And the downpipes now go into the bog garden, taking all of the water off the roof. This system deals with 100% of a 1 in 10 year hour-long event. So, not insignificant. And, in its context, it does quite a lot of good work. From any overflows, but I should say there are 2 catchments here, so any overflows from that and the other stuff coming down the other catchment goes into a swale system which we created. And one of the things we were tasked with doing was not losing play space in schools. That's at a premium. So that was one of our first challenges, is to retrofit these things without causing any loss of amenity. Well, hey, if we'd done that, we wouldn't be doing our jobs properly, really. But that's after we've completed it, so you can hardly tell the difference, really. They've got access for the grass cutting machines where the kids can play and boot the football around and so on. but pretty boring stuff really, although it does move the water around to a place where we can deal with it. This is our take on a swale. This is what all swales we think should look like. A wildflower swale, managed as a meadow, and this particular school is quite interesting really. If you look at the building at the far end, behind that is where they keep their beehives. One of the things they said to us was they want lots of wildflowers so they can, grow their own honey. And so this wildflower swale was designed by the kids with a little bit of input from ourselves. They chose the wildflower mix, and now they use it for bug hunting and taking photos, writing poems, all that kind of stuff. And it works as an urban water management feature. So at the top, at the bottom of the photo, there is a small detention area, and at the very end there's another small detention area, and then it goes back into the surface water system. This is what a SuDS party looks like. So when we hadn't actually finished, and they'd organised this party without telling us, so we had jazz and we had wine and everything, so which was pretty good, and they baked us a cake. But I think the reason I'm showing you this is because actually we've engaged with so many people about this, and the lady at the bottom there, Lyndon, is a really important person, and I'd just like to say that in all of these projects we need to put together, to make them sustainable into the future, a team of SuDS champions and local parents, head teachers, the people who look after the grounds, and the Eco Council or the Eco Ministers, whatever the school has. They all need to be involved at the very beginning, because they're the people who will drive it forward with their imagination and enthusiasm. So on the bottom left of the photo is the kids planting the swale up, and that's one of the things that we've done, as I said, with every school. Prior to that, we developed a learning package for the schools, a bespoke learning package depending on the makeup of the particular school and the projects that they were doing in that particular academic year. So our project officer went into the schools and delivered lessons, went to assemblies, trained teachers, trained the ground staff to look after and manage these things. And now the kids are part of the management team and also the monitoring team. And just to show you, this is what it's all about. This is outside that school, coincidentally, a summer downpour, drains overwhelmed immediately, and this is our SuDS working. Swale system, tributary swales, main swales, all sort of mimicking a natural river system, which is great for the kids because they can learn about this stuff in their own backyard. And here's the newly rerouted downpipes doing their work and into the raised bog garden. And this works, this system. These are some data collected by Thames Water, who are monitoring our schools, showing it's not the same storm event, I have to say, but a similar storm event, an attenuation period of 2 to 3 hours. So you can see that if we have these small features retrofitted in difficult spaces where communities care about them and understand them, if you roll that out down the whole street or throughout the whole community, you can begin to have an impact on managing storms, but also sowing the seed of environmental care and management in that community. This is another school, very briefly, just to show that anywhere, in any difficult, unloved space, you can fit a SuDS. So this is another school, and this is a very small SuDS system, but at the top of the photo you can see rainwater butts. What you possibly can't see is the new guttering, and then there's a photo after this with lots and lots of decking where the teachers, I think, use it as a smoko in their break time, but out of the way of the kids. But it's a great place. It's attracted newts. It's a supervised area which can be locked up. One of the things about schools, you probably have this concern yourself at times, is what about if the kids fall in and all of that? Well, there's a little rake by the side which you can pull them out by. But the main thing is this is supervised. It's fenced off, and the kids go in there and do their pond dipping, catching the newts and the beetles, and then when they go, it's locked up again. So I think a really effective way of creating an outdoor learning resource for children, but doing something positive for the community as well, a little bit of storm alleviation, and some fantastic wetland habitat. This one is great also, if I might say so myself. This is a special needs school in Edmonton, in London, in the same catchment. And what we've done here is repurposed an existing area. So just a slightly different take on the SuDS thing. We did very little here. We just, that was a raised bed that already existed. We hiked out the clay-rich soil and put organic soil in there to hold more water, increase the porosity, put a drain in with an overflow and so on, and rerouted some downpipes into that very expensive looking piece of kit, which cost 60 quid from B&Q, I think. And where the photo is taken from is underneath a veranda. So when the kids, who remember have got some special needs, when they get a little bit tense and unruly and the teachers take them out of class, they sit in this area, which is their sensory relaxing area. And if it rains, they're dry underneath and they can see the SuDS working. And I've been there myself and seen that happening. It's a fantastic thing, and it costs very, very little, actually, to do that. And every school has a place like that. And I reckon every community centre has a place like that, where you can put SuDS in a highly visible place and tell people about why we need to do this stuff, and also creating really nice places for people and wildlife too. This is in the same catchment, but it's in the school in an old parkland just by High Barnet Tube, if anybody knows that part of London. A really long SuDS system on an extremely steep slope, so got some issues there. But the thing about this school is it takes a lot of water from outside its curtilage, so from High Barnet High Road, all sluices through the school, causing all sorts of mayhem. And so this was one of the schools where they had a real flooding issue, which we managed to solve. And because it was on a steep slope, we had several detention pools with check dams. I should say that we worked with our consultancy, WWT Consulting, to design this particular one, and to slow the water down, to clean it up as it's going along, and to create wildlife habitats all along the way. And you can see our contractors in there. They're just preparing to put in a footbridge across the path. And here we are developing the broad swale, which, because it's broad and shallow, conveys water but allows access for the grass cutting contractors onto site. Here's the bridge in and the swale completed, working fantastically well. This was a miserable little ditch, about a metre wide and a metre deep and so on, which wasn't doing very much at all in terms of wildlife or stormwater management. So we've reprofiled it, and on the left you can see the shallow areas, which we're calling our learning amphitheatres, where teachers can plonk the kids down, give them a chat about SuDS and wildlife and wetlands and so on. And I should say at this school we've created our own SuDS ambassadors, so a team of students who will take adults around on open days and so on and explain to them what SuDS are, what are the benefits of having SuDS, and why we need more of them. And when they leave, before they leave to go on to college, they train the year below to carry on that task. And that's working really, really well. And this is what that ditch now looks like once it's reprofiled and been planted up. This is 2 years after we've reprofiled it. Extremely rich habitat, but working really hard for us in terms of managing stormwater. So fantastic for dragonflies, nesting sedge warblers, if anybody's interested in birds, in there. Moorhen have managed to get in there too. And the things that we've created with very little effort, really. It's fairly simple stuff, but works really well. And at the bottom of the system is a large wetland area which receives any water that managed to get through those wetlands upstream. Some of them contact groundwater, so they are permanently wet as well, but with some storage still in there. And here's the thing about it. Queen Elizabeth Girls' School is a secondary school, all girls, 600 girls, using this from 11 years old right through to A-levels to do all sorts of study. But these are the people that planted it, and these are the people that are helping us manage the site. And these are indeed our SuDS ambassadors. Just a couple more wetlands we made on the bottom of the site. These wetlands were created in a couple of days. So a guy and a digger and another guy in a truck, taking the soil away. So really not difficult stuff, but amazingly transformational in terms of the landscape of the school and the learning possibilities and the outlook of the children. Very, very briefly, this is what we did up in the northeast of England with Northumbrian Water. Very grateful for them for funding this project. So we worked with 4 schools up there. So all primary. So this is just one primary school. Top right is what we're calling our SuDS garden. So we've got all of the features in there, but in a really enclosed space. This school has lots of grass, as you can see out the back. But this bit of grass here is right next to the buildings, and of course that's where we want to put our SuDS. So taking the water off several classrooms. You can see top left we've got what we call the skinny wetlands, or wetlands in a box or whatever. These are permanently in water. The kids plant them up and they can walk past them. They can see the dragonflies and the butterflies that are attracted to them. They can feel the plants, they can pick the mint or whatever in the meadow sweet, and get up close and personal with their own wetland. And then you'll see the runoff into the SuDS garden top right. And the kids planting up the green roofs on the bug hotels, and bottom right is the SuDS working themselves after a rainfall event. So that was in the first season, so it's not quite established yet as a hay meadow. The interesting thing about the bug hotels, and this is something we found a challenge turning into an opportunity, is finding the right contractors to do this stuff. This is landscape gardening, really. It's not big contractor stuff. We've had a bit of a disaster actually, but with a big contractor who didn't quite really get it. But once you work with small contractors and you explain to them what you want, what we found is they come up with their own stuff. And actually the bug hotels was their idea. They turned up one day and said, we've seen these things on the web, we think they could be really good here. And the next day they brought them along, and you can see the kids planting them. So great, really. Everybody's getting involved in the process. But had we excluded them from that, then maybe we wouldn't have got this outcome. So the challenge was to find the right contractors, and we tend to try and work with the same people all of the times. I'm sure you probably do as well, because once you've got them trained and you can have that conversation, you don't really necessarily need to generate lots and lots of plans. You can have the conversation that gets you the same outcome. So that was Felgate Primary School in Tyneside, and that was part of a wider community SuDS scheme that Northumbrian Water had done, but they wanted this to be the centre point of a community SuDS scheme. And I'm really, I was up there the other day actually, and was quite overwhelmed to see they had an open day and lots of people coming through the schools, going away with messages about how to look after water in their own back gardens. And all this stuff can be scaled down or up, really. It's, depending on where you are. I think the challenge is really to explain that to people and to demonstrate that to them. So this is my favourite. This is back to High Barnet. This is Susie Earnshaw Theatre School in North London. Tiny school, about 40 students. And this thing that you see in front of you is obviously the car park, but it's also the kids' playground. They don't have anything in their playground, which is green, which is soft to sit on, which attracts wildlife, nothing. So this is their domain from 9 to 4 or whatever. And it had a problem with some ponding of water, during a downpour and so on. So a little bit of a surface water issue, but the greater opportunity here was to do something astounding, really, with the water falling on the roof and in a small space, do something that would transform their learning lives. So the area at the top by the school office there was where the water was falling and remaining. Great for the kids, not brilliant in winter when it freezes and the teachers have to skate their way across to the office. So we did the tarmac river, ripped out the blacktop, put a little river in, and I'm told that the kids are going to be decorating this with the life cycle of the frog at some point soon, so that'll be good. They haven't lost any of their car parking space up the top here, but we've been able to take the water off all of those roofs there and bring the water down to a place in the corner of the car park where we can deal with it more effectively. And it's two catchments, two sub-catchments, and here are the Here are the kids planting up their Mediterranean gravel garden, which is essentially a dirty great hole in the ground for storing lots of water, dressed up as a, as a habitat. It's 750 mil deep, some recycled crushed concrete at the bottom, bit of geotextile, bit of soil, bit of gravel, some plants, and really effective way of storing quite a bit of water. And this again deals with more than a 1 in 10 year event, hour-long event. So here you see the kids getting involved. They chose the plants, they learnt about the Mediterranean climate, how it's different to ours, at the minute. This whole thing was just a way of cascading lots of new ideas and information into the school environment, about learning about the environment and water and why we need to manage it. This is the other catchment, and you can see a filter strip, a bog garden, a pond which is permanently wet, so quite small. So we had to, because there's no rainfall in London, apart from all at once on one night in the summer. So we've had to make sure the wetland, if we wanted permanent water, and they did at this school, to keep it small so we can keep it permanently wet. And this has attracted frogs and dragonflies, and the kids have been fishing out of the dragonfly nymphs and becoming amazed at the life cycle of dragonflies. And they use this again because it's a theatre school. They've written a little play about it. They've done poems and so on. I think this is the last slide. So you can see the two catchments come together here and end up in the Mediterranean gravel garden. And they've lost 3 parking bays, which they were happy to give up. And in return, they've gained an amazing place for relaxing, for learning, for wildlife. And we think this is the challenge of SuDS, but it's also the opportunity. Difficult urban spaces where nobody's really thought about something like this, but actually you can do it. We can do this, and the thing is, it's a creative, I'd say a democratic process where everybody has their say and everybody can get involved. And Susie Earnshaw, who is the head teacher, is very, very pleased with it. So I'd say that we were set a really big challenge, but out of that and the creative process that we put in place, we've had some really good outcomes that we didn't foretell in the beginning. And I think that kind of, shall we call it a jazz SuDS process, brings us lots of things that we should try and capture going forwards in other projects. And we're doing that now in our new project in Slough. Same thing, but bigger scale. So that's WWT's take on SuDS and how to maximise their benefit for people and wildlife. Thank you.